What's going on, people? I notice every time like it goes live, my eyes like light up like that. Anyway, what's up? How's everybody doing today? It is Wednesday, August 31st, last day of the month. Exciting. It's been a long month. It's been a really long month. But excited we're going into September. The year has kind of moved by really fast. Wasn't expecting it to move by this fast, but I guess this is maybe adulting or I just don't know. But anyways, just gonna give it a few minutes for people to file in or just to get started. But what's up, Marcus? What's going on, bro? How you doing? What's up, Calvin? What's going on? What up, man? What's going on? How y'all doing? Anyway, so basically today we're going to be talking again, what's up, Antiflo, about know, like, and trust. So I'm going to get started. So actually, this is actually my 12th episode of the Cimifly Live, the Entrepreneur's Journey. I am your host, Cecil Williams, and yes, I've been missing um, for basically a whole month, but excuse my absence. But I wanted to make sure at least I did something every month, and this is the last day of the month, so I'm going to do this. So today's episode is brought to you by Royal Dynamite, which is my clothing brand. I am the co-founder of Royal Dynamite. We make the Freetown t-shirts, we make the hats, so go check it out, royaldynamite.com. And we've been in business for about 12 years, and we pride ourselves in collaboration and creating change around communities around the world, especially in Freetown, Sierra Leone, where I come from. So check us out online at royaldynamite.com. But like I said, today's topic is know, like, and trust. And essentially, I talked a little bit about it yesterday, but as I like to start, I wanted to go and head and kind of read out three quotes that would kind of set the tone for what we're going to talk about. But it says this. The first one is trust is the glue of life. It is the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It's foundational principle that holds all relationships together. Stephen Covey. So it makes a lot of sense. And this is probably talking about the last one before. What's up, V? Before we go back, but essentially what it is in any relationship, before people get to even do anything, they have to trust you. Trust, I guess, is the last part of it. But essentially, what it is it says trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in communication. If you want people to appreciate you, it's crazy because my son is actually knocking on the door, and I made sure I close the door so he doesn't get to come in. Because otherwise, you'd see a kid running up in here or whatever. So essentially, basically, trust is the foundational principle that holds all relationships together. In order for you to get to even know someone and like them, then we have to build trust. In order for us to build trust, we have to make sure our communications is stable. We have to make sure the foundation of that communication is stable. But the second one is, I think I mentioned this one yesterday. It says, no one is likable from the inside out. Colleen Hoover. And this makes a lot of sense because at the end of the day, if you don't put yourself out there, people are not going to know you. So I mentioned this yesterday when I said a friend of mine, his name is Carl Sona. He says if they don't know you, they can't flow you. And it makes sense because ultimately, whether outside of the camera, from elementary school, primary school, and all these different places, the only way people get to know you is by you showing up. The only way people get to know you is by you telling them who you are, by interacting with them, by again communicating with them. So ultimately, nobody can know you from the inside out. If you're an introvert, it's okay, but you still have to make the effort to put your personality out there. And then the third one, it says, all things being equal, people do business with people they know and refer business to the people they know, like, and trust, by Bob Berg, author of a book called Endless. So Endless Referrals. Sorry about that. Check that book out. It makes sense. Ultimately, when we started a brand, Royal Dynamite, 12 years ago, we had to lean on our friends and family. Now, I always say you cannot grow a business by leaning on your friends and family forever. You have to grow past that circle. Now, this is where it's important for you to learn your audience, find a niche. Sorry, guys, if you keep hearing banging, my son is literally throwing a tantrum about coming into the room today. But unfortunately, you can't let him come in here. Anyways, but yeah, so going back to this, you have to essentially be in a position where people have to know, like, and trust you in order for you to build a circle. But like I was saying, going back to Royal Dynamite, sorry, lost my train of thought there. Going back to Royal Dynamite, we had to start with family and friends. Ralph and I made what I think 60 t-shirts, and we had to sell it out of the trunk of our car, literally to our friends and family, because we couldn't just walk up to a stranger and say, hey, buy this stuff. I mean, the story behind what we were doing started with us, but as we grew, we had to make relationships with people we did not know, people that we wanted to get to know. And over time, you build your audience. You build the audience that you would like to know and like to build. So ultimately, I keep losing my train of thought because my son will not relent. He's literally, and there's my dad, my mom, and my father-in-law. The three of them cannot get him away from the door. He literally keeps banging. So excuse me. But I guess this is a part of life. But yeah, so we built that business just from the people we knew, and over time, those people had to get to like us. I mean, because we knew them. Some of the people were family, some of them were friends, some of them were acquaintances. They got to like us by the content and the stories we told. And over time, we had to earn their trust for them to make. Maybe they bought a purchase. I always say people buy from me just because they like. There's this saying, when people buy from you, they say, "Hey, let me support your business." And it's fine and dandy, but support doesn't sustain a business. It doesn't sustain your life or anything like that. You have to build people to the point where you get to trust them. And eventually, when you get to that point of trust, then will they become repeat customers and do that over and over again. So going that, I wanted to encourage people to, there's a book called The Go-Giver. It's probably one of the shortest but most important books that I've ever really read. And I don't know if you keep hearing my son. I would like to get up and go tell him to get away from the door, but the moment I open the door, he's going to come in. I apologize again for that. But The Go-Giver is one of the best books that I've ever read. It's probably, you can read that book within maybe an hour, 2 hours. It's a short book, but it's a book about lessons about, it's a sales guy who eventually becomes one of the greatest salesmen in the world or whatever. But in order for him to learn how to be a salesperson, which is essentially taking from people, he had to learn how to be a giver. So he put him in different instances where he had to learn from specific people about what it took to be a giving person, because there's a saying, you have to give before you get. And essentially, if you do not learn how to give, which is in our world today, creating content like this, being yourself, being your authentic self, people are never going to get to like you and then get in a position where they can trust you. So ultimately, in order to build that know, like, and trust factor, you have to be somebody who's going to give. So really check out that book, the Go-Giver. It says you provide value before you receive income, or sow your seeds before you reap. So essentially, it becomes a point where you have to be in a position where you're always giving. And when you give to people, then you get to be in a position where they get to give back to you. So even with Royal Dynamite, we right now are currently, we created RD Cares. Yes, we created RD Cares because we wanted to give back to our community in Sierra Leone. We wanted to empower children, specifically in education. We wanted to use that to empower kids. But at the same time, from a business perspective, whether we like it or not, there's the consumerism factor of it, where ultimately we're not the ones giving. The customer is the one giving. The customer is the one who gets to buy. We get to take proceeds from what we get from the sale, and we give. So it becomes this community where everybody's giving back in order for us to get, and that's what helps to grow brands. So it says one of the natural laws of business is people do business with people with whom they know, like, and trust. And I repeated that earlier, and I think it's very important for us to be able to be in a position I might have to cut this one short. My kid will not relent, and my parents are not helping. I mean, I'm sorry. They're gonna have to hear this later, but you would think they would come get him so I could finish this, but he, for the last 10 minutes, he's been out there just yelling. But anyways, so ultimately, it gets to a point where the goal is, in order for people to know, like, and trust you, you have to build a system. And I think this is a system I think we're going to talk about. It's not just, I mean, there's one of the things is, first, you have to be clear about who your intended audience is. Now, whether it's in your personal life or in business. I mean, if it's your personal life, then there's no agenda. I think you have to be as authentic and real as possible in at your job and all these different things. You have to be who you are. You have to be somebody who comes in as you. You cannot put on a mask and put on a face. I mean, sometimes it's intimidating when you get around strangers and you say, oh, I don't know any of these people, so I'm going to have to pretend to be someone. But then you end up becoming someone that you have to keep up with versus being yourself. And when you be yourself, then you're a true version of who you are, and then you can be real. So I think at first, when you figure out, especially in business and entrepreneurship, you have to figure out your intended audience, because when you know specifically who you want to talk to, it makes things very easy for you to build a business. Because I think I always used to, like in college, I always used to try to figure out who was my intended audience, and I said, oh, we will sell to everyone. But then as we grew, I realized that selling to everyone didn't make any sense. We cannot be in a position where we just want to sell to John, we want to sell to Harry, who's 60 years old, we want to sell to Mary, who's 20 years old. We had to figure out our intended audience. And I think when we created Freetown, it helped us figure out who our niche and audience was. And then when you do that, you have to provide value and build relationships along the way. So if you kind of bring it down to a rudimentary level again with friendship, you have to build friendships in an authentic way. You have to provide value. You have to be in conversational mode with people. And what's up, Vicky? Guys, I don't want to have to do this, but Kenzo is really forcing me. He is screaming outside of my door, and I can't believe that my parents are not helping me. But anyways, maybe he'll walk away. But he's persistent, and that is one of the things I would say. If you want to build a trust with people, you have to be persistent. You have to be consistent, and he's been really persistent and consistent right now. But anyways, so ultimately, you have to be clear about your intended audience. You have to provide value along the way as you build relationships. So if you go to royaldynamite.com, go to our blog and check out some of the stuff that we've written. It's just really providing content to our community that is relevant to the brand, it's relevant to the culture, and it's relevant to the community. And then, like I said, you have to be authentic. You have to be authentic and real. You have to be who you are. You cannot wear a mask and think you can keep that mask on forever. You have to be you. You have to be me. I mean, this is me. I always say there's a difference between Ralph and I with Royal Dynamite. Ralph is the bubbly, he's a dynamite in Royal Dynamite. For me, my personality is I'm an introvert. I'm a little coy. I like to be in the behind the scenes, but I'm doing this and I'm saying, this is who I am. I'm going to give you a version of Cecil that is real. And I mean, it's not hated or like it, but ultimately I am trying to connect with you guys to build a community. The next thing is you have to be visible. I wasn't comfortable doing this or getting in front of the camera, but then I said to myself, I'm going to give myself a mandate where I'm going to do this for 1 year before I even then evaluate to say, hey, am I going to change who I mean, let me at least analyze this for a while to kind of see that, okay, this is working, or to get comfortable. I mean, there's bigger things that I would like to do, but first I wanted to be able to get comfortable in front of a camera, comfortable in front of an audience. So you have to be visible. And then, like I said, you have to be consistent and you have to be honorable. Honorable meaning your word is bond. So yesterday I was supposed to do one of these things, but I couldn't get my equipment together, and I still can't get it together. I mean, this is my lighting equipment and it's not working. So I'm literally making do with what I have here. So I mean, if you're probably watching this on Facebook and LinkedIn, it's not as bright, but if you're on IG, it is pretty bright. But I couldn't stay away from my word. I had to be consistent, one, and I had to honor what I said I was going to do. So I made sure I told people I was going to be doing it today, and I am doing it today, despite the fact that I have a screaming 3-year-old who will not relent, but at least he's consistent in doing what he needs to do. And if he can continue that mentality, he might be successful in life. And then to the last point, I think you have to have, guys, I don't know if you can hear this crying, but I apologize. But you have to have others be willing to vouch for you. In business, they're called testimonials. So you have to have people say, hey, Cecil is a good person. This John is a good person. You have to have people vouch for you for what you do in everything. I mean, if you're looking for a job, it's like getting a reference. You have to have somebody say, I'm going to give you a reference, and that reference is, I used to recruit. So when we used to recruit, we had to at least call 3 people minimum to find out who that person was. I mean, sometimes, yes, people make up references. The same thing with testimonials, but there are people who are very honest with you, even though they're going to say nice things, but they'll say, because you ask them the question, what do you think the challenge is, or what do you think this person can grow? There are people who are going to be honest with you, but essentially, you have to have others be willing to vouch for you in the know, like, and trust model. So go over these things again. I think if you want to build value in your business, if you want to build success, and if you want to grow, you have to be clear about who your intended audience is. You have to provide value to them. Providing value to them, in the case of, I would use World Dynamite as an example because it's something I touch every day. We blog, we're on social media, we do t-shirt care tips, we tell you what other people are saying about our business. We are on a social media and have a presence wherein if someone were to say something or had a question, we do our best to answer those questions. We're just making sure we're providing value to people as best as possible. Then you have to be authentic. You have to be yourself. I mean, it doesn't get more authentic than us creating a representation of where we come from. I think this was probably the most brilliant thing we did, because as you try to figure out and find yourself, you say, okay, maybe I need to sell to everyone. No, once you figured out that audience, and you have to figure out what emotionally connects with them. That's where authenticity comes in. Even in friendship, as you're talking to strangers that you meet for the first time, you might connect with them because you guys have kids that are the same age. You have boys or you have girls, or maybe you both like basketball. There's a connecting point that you guys come together and say, hey, this is where we connect. And from here, we're going to build a real relationship based on that authenticity. And you have to be visible. If you have a friend, vice versa, you guys have to keep in touch. You have to call each other. You have to go out and spend some time. Relationships, same thing. Business, you have to show up. In our case, whether it's social media, newsletter, SMS, advertising, whatever, you consistently have to show up for your audience or your intended targets to know that you exist. And then you have to be consistent. This is where a lot of people fail, myself included, having these challenges. You have to be in a position where you are always, you're going to honor your word. If you say you're going to show up every Monday, then you show up every Monday. Every so often, it's like work. There's sick days. And I think we need to leave room for sick days. Now, at work, there's sick days. On social and everything else, there's the days people say, stuff happens and they cannot be there and they cannot be present. You have to give them room for that. But they have to understand that in order for them to grow, it's not a short period of time. They have to think of it long term. And they have to take that long-term approach in order for them to get where they need to get, but they have to be consistent and honorable with their word and what they say they're going to do. And then lastly, you have to have others be willing to vouch for you. Your friends could put your reputation is on the line. So essentially, people vouching for you is saying, I trust this person and I think you should do business with them. In our case, when we get testimonials for products, it's letting people know that this product is good quality. They're basically endorsing us to say, hey, when the next customer comes, they're going to read this and say, hey, I like the product. I think it's good quality. You should go ahead and buy it. So people are vouching for us. And as a result of people vouching for us, other people get to do what? They get to trust us. So first, it's a funnel. You get to know people, that's a huge funnel. And then over time, you get to like people because you spend time getting to know them. And when you spend time getting to know them and you like them, then they earn your trust. And once they earn your trust, then they can do business with you. They can have a relationship with you. So all these things. So know, like, and trust applies to relationships, friendships, business. And the moment that sinks in, that we get to understand that this is something that's very important for us to do in the cycle of life to be successful, the easier it becomes for us. So always remember KLT, know, like, and trust. Like Carl says, if they don't know you, they can't flow you. So ultimately, people get to know you, they like you, they trust you. So if you have any questions or comments, these videos are going to be posted on all my social media platforms. Give me a shout out. Let me know what you think about the video. Give me your feedback. Let me know what you think about Know, Like, and Trust. Let me know what you think about The Go Giver. So read the book, The Go Giver. It's probably one of the shortest and sweetest reads you're ever going to have. But read that book, check it out. Let me know what you think. Send me a DM, send me a message, text message for my friends out there. But just let me know what you think. And the goal is for us to grow as a community, for us all to get better as individuals and as human beings. This is my form of accountability to myself and to you guys. And I would like the same from you guys, to get me some feedback and let me know how I'm doing, so we can all get better and I can improve to make things better for you guys. But I'd like to thank everybody that shows up. I'd like to thank everybody that listens to it afterwards. I really, really appreciate you guys. I appreciate the feedback that I get from you guys. So I have to attend to Kenzo because he threw a fit for maybe 17 minutes. And but that's part of the life, part of life. That's part of this journey that I'm on, and having to balance all these things. But thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you guys' time, and you all have a wonderful Wednesday evening and the last day of the month. Thank you guys very much.